Nāvavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, saha viryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste everyone. Welcome to another session of weekly group meditation. Like always, we have Nathan with us and Delphine, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Welcome. So, last week we were talking about ahimsa, nonviolence, and there was an equipment failure and we were not able to conclude that discussion. So today we will not continue with that. We will discuss another topic after the group meditation, and if eventually at some point we get to revisit all the topics, then we will discuss more about ahimsa. But hopefully this time we will be able to go through the whole session, because last time there were some technical misconfigurations which led to overheating of the camera, and that's what we saw. But this time I have made sure that all the settings are perfect. Hopefully this will go smooth. So without wasting much time, let's first begin with our meditation, and then so I'll be setting a timer for 20 minutes. That's why I'm using my phone. I'm not just checking messages or anything. I'll be setting a timer for 20 minutes, and I will be guiding you briefly through the meditation, but it's mostly the same routine. We'll just be trying to sit still without being distracted by our thoughts. If we do end up flowing with our thoughts, we'll just gently bring it back to a state where we are just relaxed and not following through anything that's just appearing and disappearing in our mind, any body sensation, any noise that we hear around us. We'll just try to keep bringing our attention back. So that's what we are going to do. Make yourself comfortable. Sit in cross-legged posture if you are sitting on floor, or if you are sitting on chair, scoop yourself to the front edge of the chair. Make sure your back and head is not supported, but are resting on top of each other, erect. Let your breathing settle. You can remove your glasses if you wear like me. And slowly close your eyes. Take a deep breath in And with the exhale, relax. Take another deep breath. And with this exhalation, relax even more. Take one last deep breath. And with exhalation, relax completely into this one. Allow your breathing to take its natural course. Relax completely into this posture. Be still. Let the breath flow naturally. If you catch yourself lost in thinking, simply observe effortless natural flow of the breath. Just observe the natural flow of breath in this moment without trying to change anything. See if the breath is short or deep. See if it feels warm or cold. Just observe the texture, the sound it makes when it goes through nostrils. How it makes your chest and belly move. Just observe the natural flow. Put your attention fully into your breath. At this moment, you are just a witness, just an observer, witnessing the natural flow of breath. This witnessing does not require any further label. All your thoughts are connected with one or the other label that you have put on yourself. It's time to set aside all those labels. In this moment, you are just a witness, not a professional, not a relative, not a friend. Just a witness. No nationality is required, no citizenship. Let the body relax too. Neither the label of being a man or a woman is required. Just be the witness. Even the thinking faculty can rest. the knowing faculty can rest. Just being. Pure awareness. Just the breath. Stay still. Keep your eyes closed. sarve bhavantu sukhinaḥ, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaśyid dukkha bhag bhavet. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Rub your palm against each other. Generate some warmth. Cup your eyes with your palm and slowly open your eyes looking at the palm. Take your own time. Make a note of how you feel. So, in our last session, we were talking about nonviolence. And the next yama that is important to discuss is truth, Satya. Now, when we say truth, a lot of people simply understand it as not saying a lie. Well, that is one definition of it, right? But it goes much deeper. The word truth, when it is said in Sanskrit, it is called Satya, which has the word Sat in it. And Sat basically means that which is real. You can say that, okay, truth also means the same thing. But most people understand truth as just something confined to verbal sphere, right? Like you say something, you write something, it has to be truth, like facts, right? But when we say Sat, the definition of Sat is something that never changes. Something that changes is called Asat. And something that doesn't change ever is called Sat. Now, this in itself is a huge problem. What in this world does not change, right? We see everything changes. So we also say sometimes like the whole life is a journey to find what is Sat. The whole life is a journey to find the truth. And if you just say, take truth in, the normal understanding of the facts, then you already have found a lot of facts. Then your purpose of life is over. But if you define Sat or truth in the way that thing never changes, thing that never changes, anything that ever changes is not Sat, then it becomes a huge pursuit. So that is how we understand Sat, right? But then it also has to be practiced on 3 different levels, like we discussed not yesterday, in our last session about nonviolence, that it has to be practiced in speech, it has to be practiced in action, it has to be practiced in even thoughts. The same goes with Sat. The practice also is threefold. Starts from Vak Sat. So when you say something, obviously it has to be true to your understanding. because this understanding evolves. But if at your current understanding it is true, then you are allowed to say it. Obviously, as soon as it becomes a false for you, you also have to then clarify that, okay, now my understanding has changed. This is no more true for me. So I cannot uh, endorse it any further. That's about the vaksa. Then comes manasa. That means when we are thinking, a lot of times we just weave stories about ourselves. So we have to be careful and identify what are the stories and what is really true. What are our real experiences and what are exaggeration to that. What is true about our own nature and what we just think could be true based on whatever we have read, whatever we have heard, right? So this self-evaluation again and again about every thought that comes into our mind, whether it is true or not. And then this leads to the third level of truth, that is Swarup Satya, which is where just one question for Raman Maharshi, who am I, took him to Swarup Satya. So when you repeatedly ask this question, these kind of questions, who are you? And you make a resolve that all these labels that you have put on yourself, because they keep changing as per the earlier definition we discussed about Sat or truth, because these keep changing, they cannot be me. So you keep rejecting those, and ultimately you land onto something that over a period of time you understand has not changed even a bit. You then find your true being, that is Swarup. So that is the three different levels on which truth also has to be practiced. But then also there is this question, should I always be truthful? Yes, you should always be truthful, but then what if it hurts people? And the answer to that is, truth has been kept second in yama. The first is ahimsa, non-violence. So it always has to be under non-violence. So if something is hurtful, even though it is true, it is better to not express. You are not supposed to say otherwise, but not expressing is always an option, right? So ahimsa always takes priority, then truth. That's why the three gets that we always get reminded of in the launch is it true, is it kind, is it necessary? So is it kind? Without that line, even if it is true, is it necessary, it's not enough. You always have to evaluate on this idea of whether it is kind to say something, whether it is kind to express that truth. That is the importance of non-violence and why it is always kept before truth. Even when we list yama, always non-violence comes first, then comes truth. And when we talk about, okay, this is fine, it's one thing to talk about truth and practice it in our day-to-day interaction, but how does it help meditators? It has very direct effect, because if you do not have this ability to discern between what is right, what is truth, what is false, your meditation is a space where mind is at its full capacity to engage you, to trick you in all possible ways, right? So the whole practice of meditation is actually to find the truth about existence. And if you have not developed the discernment to find truth in mundane stuff, how are you expected to even find what is true in among the things that you experience during meditation, right? So this has to be practiced on a daily basis and day-to-day life, and in your thoughts, like on the level of speech, on the level of thoughts, and on the level of being. It only becomes true when you repeatedly, for every thought that comes into your mind, you evaluate it, whether it's true, whether it is true to my own experience, or whether it is true just because I have heard somewhere, right? So one thing that always happens when you go and study Advaita is you get to know about all of these concepts and you think, okay, I know it. But then if you put it through this checks, whether it is true in the sense that I experience it that way, or whether it is true just because there is an evidence in that book that this might be true. And then you will know where you actually stand, and then you will have the motivation to practice. Because many a times somebody reads Advaitic philosophy and they don't have motivation to practice because they think that they know everything already. Why should they practice? But yeah, that's not the definition of truth, because that understanding keeps changing every time. You read the book, you read the same thing written in a different language by a different author, and you are confused. But only when you have experientially known something, then you are never confused of any description about that stuff, right? So that is what truth is, and it has to be practiced on a daily basis. If not on every thought, maybe take some time in your evening when the day ends. See what are the things that you were not truthful about. What were the things that you might have exaggerated? What are the things that you might have downplayed in a conversation? What are the identities that you are still trying to hold and modifying your experiences just to fit in that identity? This kind of exercise. Journaling can be a good exercise where you can be as transparent as possible without trying to impress anyone, without having this fear of that journal being read by someone. And so you have to maintain a certain image, right? Self-image. So you can completely let go of all kinds of self-images and journal what is your true experience. Those kind of practices. Because ultimately, meditation is a tool to get to samadhi. And samadhi literally means bringing together. Bringing together what? Bringing together your inner experiences and your outer experiences. And that will never happen if you are not truthful about what your inner experiences are, what your external experiences are. So, not being truthful creates this gap. And the whole practice is to erase this gap. So, hopefully that makes sense. If there is any question, let me know in the chat, or you can come up on the stage, raise your hand, and you will be able to speak. You can talk. In the chat, I can see about these beads. This is very common in India. You can find it in any puja store. It's not a, I mean, this is called Rudraksh, by the way. So you can just go to any puja store and ask for a Rudraksh mala. This generally have 108 beads, and it's also used for chanting to keep the count of how many times you have chanted a particular mantra. If we are ever separated from being each other, literally and realistically, what would be your last words? If we are ever separated from being each other, is it really what I understand? Like, are you saying about the final dissolution? if we are ever separated from being each other, literally and realistically, there would not be any need to say anything to anyone, right? What I think, there will not be any I. So the thinking would happen, and everyone, well, there will not be anyone to know that even, right? So thinking would happen and it would be known. It would be that kind of situation. So really, words would not be required in that situation. But if you are saying it like if we are ever separated from being in contact with each other, right, then the beauty of yama and niyama is that it grows. So even what I just discussed today, truth, if you just pick one part of it and try to put it in practice, it grows like a tree grows from a small seed. So you will not even have to need to know what are the other yamas, what are the other niyamas, what are the practices, what is asana, what is pranayama, nothing. Just truthfulness with kindness, enough. It can take you to your highest potential. So that is the power of how these things are laid out and how these things are interconnected. You really cannot nurture one quality without developing other supporting qualities. This is how it has been designed. So yeah, anything that you can pick up from even this conversation would be equally beneficial if you put your heart and soul into it. And one more thing is that I will be moving to a different place in the coming week. So it might be possible that next week's Sunday I will try to make it to next week Sunday, but things might not be settled by then. And there is a possibility that I will have to skip one Sunday. But I will keep you guys updated, just giving a heads up that this is what is happening on the when this camera is not running, what other things are happening which might affect this schedule. So that is that. And thank you everyone again for joining. Delphine, Nathan, Paro, Kaifer. Hopefully I pronounced everyone's name correctly. Hope to see you guys again next week. Thank you very much. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.